Greetings. I'm Pastor Blaine from Rules Church. This past Sunday was the second Sunday of Easter. What that means is 1 week after the celebration of Easter. Now, the series that we are in, the series that we're following for worship and messages, moves pretty quickly. And so what happened is we jumped from the Easter celebration into the first chapter of the book of Acts. And what we're doing here is we're following and we're seeing what it is that the disciples are up to after Jesus' resurrection and after his ascension. The book of Acts, chapter 1, starts out with just a brief little summary of what had happened recently, but then it gets into what were the disciples doing, what did they do next after Jesus' ascension. And if we look at that passage beginning at verse 12, you'll see that it's pretty simple. They stayed together and they prayed together, and then they realized, or Peter led them to understand, they needed to add another person to their group. They needed to elect or select somehow a 12th apostle to take Judas' place so that they could continue on in the ministry that Jesus had been training them for. Now, another thing about that, when the disciples, now named apostles, entered their discernment process about a replacement for Judas, we note that they had two possible men, Joseph called Barsabbas and Matthias. And they presented both of these men to God. Ultimately, it was Matthias who was chosen. But that process and that little detail makes me think, when we have a choice before us, when you find yourselves at some kind of crossroad, do we really keep an open mind before God, or do we come before God with our minds made up, seeking God's blessing for our choice, saying, Lord, here it is, and hope that God will endorse whatever it is that we wish him to do so? The disciples, they didn't bring one, they came with two choices. Lord, we think it's this. Show us which one. Well, hopefully when we come before God with choices, when we have those decisions before us, we do get it right sometimes and leave ourselves open to God's leading and guiding in the decision, truly leading and guiding, not just rubber stamping what we think. Hopefully we do get it right sometimes, and the more the better. But what we see here is that it is a helpful reminder. There's a helpful reminder here. If we would have God lead us, then we need to run our choices and decisions, the big ones anyway, maybe not all the little ones like what's for breakfast, but the big choices and the big decisions, we need to run them before God, giving God room, giving God the flexibility to point out his will for us, not looking to just have God rubber stamp what it is that we really want deep down inside, not locked into what we want ahead of time. Be open to God and allow God the room to show his will for us. Well, that's all for this week. Till next week and our next time together, I'm Pastor Blaine. Be blessed.